In the shadows of World War II, a secret unfolded in Manchuria, a place where science became a weapon. This was Unit 731, Japan's covert program of human experimentation and biological warfare. Prisoners infected with plague, frozen alive, and dissected without mercy. The world was never meant to know. Governments buried the truth. Victims were erased. But history's silence cannot last forever. My name is Kayla Dones. This is Deadly Science, and the story starts now. Hi everyone, I'm Kayla Dones, and welcome to episode 3 of Deadly Science, a 6-part series with Pacific Atrocities education. Now, this is my favorite episode out of the entire series because it has to do with all of us today and what's happening around the world. So we are going to, in this episode, be looking at hidden labs, secret deals, mysterious deaths, and revelations that challenge what we thought we knew about science, power, morality, and who owns that. So, before we get into all that, we need to go back in time to August 1945. Japan surrendered and Allied troops came into Manchuria, and they're looking at everything on the grounds, what was happening. Laboratories half destroyed. They find documents that are smoldering, and there are guards running off into the woods. While they're there looking at everything, trying to wrap their heads around what's going on, they also find evidence of human experimentation. So at the center of all this chaos, the key player is General Shiro Ishii. He's the mastermind behind Unit 731. We talk a lot about him in episodes 1 and 2. He knows that people are going to come after him about all the things that happened. And so he decides to fake his own death. But the CIA finds him. And rather than holding him to account, having, some type of trial or try to have some type of accountability, they actually work out a deal with him to where he becomes a CIA contractor on their payroll till his old age. I have to tell you guys that the US was not the only ones who were interested in this information. The Soviet Union wanted access to it as well. The CIA and Ishii are having these negotiations, and they're starting to interrogate him about all the things that happened during this period of time. Now, Ishii agrees to hand over all the information after they go through these negotiations. He's like, okay, I'll give you guys everything, but just grant me and my guys immunity. And the CIA actually agreed to do that, and we're going to be showing you guys documents of these conversations. We're going to take you right into that room where the CIA is talking to Ishii. So I want you guys to read along with me here. This is line 2. Ishii was bedridden and appeared to be in ill health. The interrogation was for technical and scientific information and not war crimes. The CIA, rather than saying, this was such a terrible situation, we need to charge this man, they wanted the scientific information. The information he had concealed was of interest now. His statement on human experiments and trials against Chinese army was wanted. So they're wanting to know, what did you guys do to the Chinese? What did you do? What's this? What's that? Ishii replied at length in substance as follows. We can see exactly what Ishii said. This is crazy. I will not reveal information to the Russians. I told Colonel Sanders in 1945 that I wouldn't. I cannot give detailed technical data. All the records were destroyed. I never did know many details, and I have forgotten what I knew. I can give you general results. He does take responsibility here. He says, I am responsible for all that went on in Pingfang, and I'm willing to shoulder all responsibility. Neither my superiors or subordinates had anything to do with ensuring instructions for experiments. As it is well documented here, as you guys all got to see the conversations that were had between the CIA and Ishii, in result, every single doctor from Unit 731 got to walk free. And the victims were forgotten and erased for the sake of national security. There was a general by the name of Douglas MacArthur and his intelligence chief, General Charles A. Willoughby, who arranged this deal. Also involved was U.S. Army bacteriologist Lieutenant Colonel Murray Sanders and Lieutenant Colonel Arvo Thompson. They were the ones who helped secure the transfer of Unit 731's files straight to American labs. They struck this bargain with Shiro Ishii, and they protected all of his inner men, and we're gonna go into one of his inner men right here. Lieutenant Colonel Ryoshi Niato, a medical doctor specializing in microbiology, was a high-ranking officer with the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department, Unit 731 of the Japanese Army. In the 1930s and early 40s, he operated in Northeast China. That's where Unit 731 is, we know that, where he participated in programs involving pathogen weaponization and human experimentation. The CIA protected this guy who was testing biological weapons on human beings. The payments for this data was equivalent to 150,000 to 200,000 yen, which was equivalent to $20 million, as we can see by these declassified documents we're going to show you on abc.net. This was published in 2005. The United States gave money and other benefits to former members of a Japanese germ warfare unit 2 years after the end of World War II to obtain data on human experiments the unit conducted in China. The Imperial Japanese established Unit 731 in 1936 to develop biological weapons using plague, anthrax, and other bacteria. The CIA tosses these guys $20 million to get all their information, and this is between the years of 1945 and 1948. The deal was sealed. And instead of facing prosecution for crimes against humanity, these men were protected because the US wanted their science. While the CIA is making backroom deals and getting bioweapons data, the Soviet Union is holding their wartime trials. This is in 1949. They're actually exposing the vivisections, the frostbite tests, the plague experiments. They're having witnesses on the stand testify. And what does America do, okay? We don't go after the war criminals. We actually protect them and get their information. And we don't acknowledge any of the victims who are talking about how these diseases ravage their bodies and they're mutated and barely survived and barely got out. They witnessed people being sliced open and surgeries happening. What does the US do with all these victims? I bet there are people out there that can guess. Russian propaganda. You got it. It was dismissed as Russian propaganda. I'm not even kidding you. This is in 1949. Decades later, those archives were confirmed that yes, these atrocities did happen, and no, it actually was not Russian propaganda. My God. But this is why it's so important to understand history, because then we can see that the same thing, they're using the same techniques decades later. It's just crazy. The legacy of this deadly science did not end in World War II, and this is the part that I cannot wait to get into, but it kind of terrifies me at the same time. I'm not too. And I also have to say that there's someone on X that curated a lot of this information, and I spoke with them and asked them if I could reference them and their incredible work highlighting these important issues, because we're going into what's happening today. So this account on X, Shadow of Ezra, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you and see the research and the things that you've been documenting. Very important topic. Keep it up. So this is who provided me a lot of these assets that I'm going to be referencing today. Really important stuff. Okay, so we're going to dive into, we went through the history, Now let's look at today. How is this impacting all of us? As we mentioned, the legacy of this deadly science did not end in World War II. In the newly released JFK files, it revealed that Operation Mongoose, where the CIA was connected to agricultural sabotage, destroying the sugarcane fields in Cuba using biological agents. Let's take a look at that document here. The group then turned to a discussion of number 32, agricultural sabotage. General Carter emphasized the extreme sensitivity of any such operation and the disastrous results that would flow from something going wrong, particularly if there were obvious attributions to the US. He went on to say, however, that it would be possible to accomplish this purpose by methods more subtle than those to indicate in the paper. He mentioned specifically the possibility of producing crop failures by the introduction of biological agents which would appear to be of natural origin. Mr. Bundy said that he had no worries about any such sabotage which could clearly be made to appear as the result of local Cuban disaffection or a natural disaster, but that we must avoid external activities such as the release of chemicals, etc., unless they could be completely covered up. So this indicates that the CIA planned agricultural sabotage of the sugarcane fields in Cuba to destabilize that government. Speaking of JFK, we have RFK talking about Fauci. Now we're bringing it to right now, here in America. RFK Jr. has expressed a desire to prosecute Dr. Fauci, alleging that the US government, through the CIA, funded the Wuhan labs and facilitated the transfer of bioweapons to their facilities. If there were crimes that he committed, of course I would tell the Attorney General to prosecute him and not hold off. Before RFK was elected, he was all about, we're going to go get Fauci. We're going to have results for everything that happened in COVID. What happened to that energy? Where'd that go? Just saying. Let's hear what RFK has to say about this.
You think Fauci is the devil. Would you prosecute him if you ever got to the White House?
I mean, if there were crimes that he committed, of course we would, I would tell the Attorney General to prosecute him and not hold off. Do I think that he committed crimes? I think he caused a lot of injury. I think that he, particularly by withholding early treatment from Americans, we racked up the highest death count in the world. By
withholding information, we racked up the highest death count in the world? What do you mean, RFK?
We only have 4.2% of the globe's population, but we had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country, and that is...
16% of the COVID deaths in America.
Wow. From bad policy. There's countries that did the opposite of what we did, that provided ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, other early treatments to their population.
Oh, remember when we were told that was like the horse medicine or something? Like that was all over everywhere, that medication was like not to be taken or you would die or like turn into a horse or something.
And had 1/200th of our death rate. So there are many, many things that we did wrong in this country, and some of those were, I would say, knowingly. That some of the things that were done by public health officials at that time, that they knew that they would be harmful to.
Why hasn't the Biden administration punished China for the lab leak, for withholding PPE during the pandemic?
I think one of the reasons we haven't investigated the Wuhan lab is because the U.S. government, not just through NIH, but through the CIA and through USAID, was actually funding the studies.
The who? The CIA was funding the studies? What? No way!
And we did a very, very big technology transfer of bioweapons technology to the Wuhan lab. And bioweapons technology
that was developed. Come to your own conclusions, but with talking and learning about Unit 731 and learning about what the CIA is up to in the Wuhan lab and transferring bioweapon data, I'm a little concerned. We also have this other quote. When I saw this, it blew my mind. RFK talks about how the COVID vaccines that were developed were by our military. Are you kidding me? Let's get into this.
The vaccines were developed not by Moderna and Pfizer. They were developed by NIH. The patents are owned 50% by NIH. Nor were they manufactured by Pfizer or by Moderna. They were manufactured by military contractors. And basically, Pfizer and Moderna were paid to put their stamps on those vaccines as if they came from the pharmaceutical industry. But, that's not what they were doing. They were coming from, this was a military project from the beginning.
Leave what you think this is all about in the comments below, please. I am so curious to know what you guys are thinking at this point. We have RFK talking about how the CIA was involved in the Wuhan lab. He's talking about how the COVID-19 vaccines were developed by our military. Now let's hear what Tulsi Gabbard has to say about the biolabs that the U.S. is running.
There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens. Now, like COVID, these pathogens know no borders. If they are inadvertently or purposely breached or compromised, they will quickly spread all throughout Europe, the United States, and the rest of the world, causing untold suffering and death. So in order to protect the American people, the people of Europe, the people around the world, these labs need to be shut down immediately, and the pathogens that they hold need to be destroyed.
They need to be shut down immediately. That's how Tulsi feels about it, and I actually agree with her. Let me know what you guys think. We have a general, and he was investigating all this. Let's hear what he has to say about these biolabs and COVID and what happened.
Тоже мы можем говорить о том, что это не без помощи американских биологов.
Я думаю, что вот так огульно заявлять, мы же все-таки должностные лица. Ведь биологическое оружие, если посчитать, какой ущерб нанес ковид, то, наверное, будем говорить, за 2 года, да?
Ну, основная такая
пандемия,
да. 2 года шла.
То даже ее нельзя сравнить с ущербом, который был во Вторую мировую войну.
As for biological weapons, if we assess the damage caused by COVID, over the course of 2 years around the world, the main pandemic lasted 2 years. It cannot even be compared with the damage of World War II.
Десятки раз больше. Зато выгодоприобретатели той же Big Pharma,
Вы имеете в виду фармацевтические все
компании, которые в основном находятся у нас там в Соединенных Штатах, это там колоссальное. Все, что не делается, все делается в интересах национальной безопасности Соединенных Штатов, и нам надо доверять.
Слепо доверять.
Да, слепо доверять. Там политика глобальная.
They have a policy over global biological control.
Они поняли, что это работает.
They understand that this works, and by creating an artificial crisis,
что посредством искусственно создаваемых таких кризисных ситуаций,
which are biological in nature, they control the world.
И даже поставляя каким-то государствам.
This general was a key investigator in regards to the US-backed biolabs in Ukraine. He was investigating this whole situation. He was killed in a Moscow explosion. He was just blown up. Yeah, so this general died, was just literally exploded. Now we have here Professor Boyle, who had planned to testify in Dutch court against Bill Gates over COVID vaccines, labeling them as bioweapons.
There was a 6th witness, Professor Francis Boyle, who is actually expert on bioweapons, having drafted several bioweapons conventions-related laws in the U.S. And 3 weeks after he agreed to testify on behalf of the plaintiffs that these products and the process was deployment of bioweapons, he suddenly died. And we still don't know the cause of death. And the only thing that we know is he was perfectly healthy prior and was teaching full-time.
He suddenly died. Wow. This is a lot of information to take in, and there was this quote that I read today, and I'm going to paraphrase it and I'm going to try to find it for you guys, because when you see things that are this evil, it's easy to feel like you want to lose hope and just give up. But we cannot give up. Evil never wins, it just never dies. And it's our responsibility, every single generation, to cut away at it and make sure that it doesn't grow out of control. General Shiro Ishii knew whoever controlled disease could control the world. And what we have shared with you today links the CIA to the involvement of this lab and them expanding this program for the last 80 years. It's our responsibility as people of the world to uncover all of this information and share it with everyone you know, to never, ever, no matter how much they want to distract us, to never forget this information, never experience what we had to live through, never experience not being able to get access to our loved ones before they died, women being shot up with COVID vaccines and having their babies die. There's a lawsuit right now in regards to all the pregnant mothers who lost children after they had a COVID-19 shot. We can never forget what we lived through as a world. The general said what happened in COVID was 2 times the atrocities of what happened in World War II. We cannot be silent, because silence protects the powerful. And the cycle will never end. Please share this information with the people you know, your loved ones, and people that can do something about it. Doctors, scientists, nurses, lawyers, attorneys, anyone that you might know. We all have to be educated on the legacy of Unit 731 and why it matters today. Thank you so much for joining Deadly Science. My name is Kayla Dones, and we'll see you in episode 4.